All right, welcome back to Community Focus here on Channel 6 TV. I'm Kenny Fogle. Glad you could be here with us. We constantly looking around the community to see if we can find somebody that's a little interesting to talk to and keep us entertained and a little bit educated as to what's going on. Happened to run into a good friend of mine today, Mr. Jim Hagan. Jim, thanks for being here today. I appreciate it.
Glad to be here.
I know you're rushing from one project to another, but...
yeah, I have a 16-year-old grandson today. Today's his 16th, so I'm heading up the bluegrass here in a few minutes to go to a birthday party for him.
Well, one thing I found out being around people all the time is the busier the people are, the more they get involved. I mean, if you find one busy person, I could probably name about 5 committees you're on right now, and several of them you're very active in. So, is this why? Why do you do this?
That's a good question. I was asked one time to do a resume, and what are your hobbies? And I sat and thought, and I said, well, I did this. I was on this committee. I was on the Historical Review Board at one time, the Red Cross at one time. Mm-hmm. And it dawned on me that I love golf. I don't play it much, but I found out that I came to the realization, I guess, that my hobby is being involved. Yeah. Not for any other, it's just challenges. I like a challenge. It's to be active, to do something, contribute to something. I have a lot of clients that are retirees. They say, man, I've hit that golf ball, more times. I'm tired of hitting that. Want to do something meaningful. And I guess I gravitated that way. Someone asked me, and I didn't know how to say no, and so it just kind of evolved from there.
I think don't know how to say no was a big problem for a lot of people. But again, let's go back real quickly. I know you mentioned the Red Cross. Now, you've been very instrumental in the Red Cross over the last several years, not only in Nelson County, but in Marion and Washington County as well. Now, this is something I know you're very near and dear to your heart.
Right. It's of course, being in the business that I'm in the insurance, you're always the recovery. And
just let everybody know you're on State Farm Insurance.
Yes, I am.
Just let everybody know a little background there.
I didn't come to plug myself. I came to just, basically, in that you just saw what the Red Cross did. And if we ever had a major catastrophe here, we didn't have everything up and running like it should be, and so we kind of tightened it up. Now, I completed my 6-year term a couple of years ago, and but I recruited my neighbor Fred Hagan and Gary Bishop, another good friend, and they have been bringing it along. Boy, that Fred and his wife Pat have been been very involved in it, in which the county is fortunate. Here's another person, Fred, who is active in a lot of things, but you don't hear a lot out of it, kind of low key, staying under the radar. And I think that's always the best way to do it. I was doubting my reasons for coming out here today, just because this is not me to come in and talk about that thing. But I honored your request.
Promote your cause.
Well, that's true. I'm here for the cause, not for me, and and so getting more people involved in that. I told the mayor about 15, 20 years ago. About the fire department, I says we can't have a volunteer fire department as big as we're getting, because it's demanding too much on the volunteers, and the employers are not going to enjoy it. So to move towards a full-time fire department would be something of gold. And we can't do it, but we slowly have evolved to that, just because we need good coverage, we need good emergency protection, and so the Red Cross was a way to motivate or to move the community to help out their fellow citizens if there was a need for it, and to get the organization in place. So we were able to pull in a lot of resources, and the people from Washington County as well as Marion County responded and came on board. Senator Higdon he and his wife Jane was extremely instrumental in that area. So they got involved. So it was really encouraging. It was fun to see, just to ask, and they said, sure, I'd be glad to do it. So,
well, in the insurance business, you probably see a little bit more than the average person does the devastation of a fire.
Sure.
I mean, you either got clients or some way or another. You see what happens to a fire, what gets replaced, what doesn't get replaced. What you have to do, and you have to move quickly. It's not something you have to do. You can't wait 6 months to a year.
No. I remember. About 7, 8 years ago, it was around just a few days before Christmas. There was 16 out at Bourbon, behind Busy Bee there was an apartment fire that 16 units were total loss, and people were out on the streets at midnight, and the Red Cross was there, and of course we handed out credit cards or debit cards so they could go and get a room at a hotel, get something to eat. And the process, it would really be good if everybody would go and watch the Red Cross work in a disaster to see how much training it takes, how much involvement it takes to, and all the resources. We were at one time, I was down at the Civic Center, and there was 2 apartments that burned out, were a total burned out of their apartment. And we were running back and forth. It was Sunday night. It was 8 o'clock. We ran out to Walmart and got some stuff. I would need this kind of diaper. Made a second trip. So the volunteers were really active in that. So that made the transition from a real catastrophic situation to them. It was a small fire to us, but it was catastrophic because they lost everything. It was somewhat, they got involved and got them taken care of. So,
well, I know my office with United Way is right beside the Red Cross office at the Civic Center. I happened to be there one day, and Mary Sue was there, and she got called, and she said, "Kenny, you got to go with me." And I said, "Where are we going?" "We're going to a fire." And I'd been trained, so I knew basically what to do. So I went out there, and the most ironic thing is it was somebody I knew. Somebody, he lived from Louisville, happened to be in the National Guard with years ago, lost everything they had, and that still has stuck with me, to see the devastating look on that family's face, as to sit there watching everything they had go away. And I guess that for some reason or other, that had an impact. Well, I know why it had an impact on me, because that could be any of us, and that's a tough situation.
Yeah, a little kind of funny side story to that. I was told Susan Harden that I wanted it when she was executive director. I wanted to work a fire just to see what it was, and so she called me. I was on the way to an accident that my sister had, and so I said, "All right, hang on a minute, let me go to this one." And so I turned around, I called her back. She said, "Where is it?" And it was out the Louisville Road, so I headed out that way. And so she was meeting with the couple, with the mother. The daughter had come home, and as soon as she opened the door, it was a flashover with all their electric blanket had caught fire. And so the lady was quite upset and everything, and so Susan was kind of walking her through. She says, "Well, have you called your insurance?" It turned out it was one of my clients. She says, "Have you called?" No. He says, "Well, who is it?" She says, "Well, it's Jim Hagan." And she goes, "Well, he's on his way." She went
You're very self-serving.
Yeah, that's right. So, boom, there it is. So anyway, there was just a little funny side story about that. But again, when I walked in and saw the situation, I said, "You can't stay here tonight. The smoke is horrific. It's gonna be a wildfire."
That's the worst part a lot of times.
It's to be able to help them through that situation, they were very grateful. And,
I know, being with you in the Rotary Club, and we have a lot of different guests and speakers come through, and I can usually count on you to speak up and ask a very pertinent question or give a comment or opinion. But to me, do you think that's something that people ought to do more of? Or a lot of people just sit back and say, listen to it, politely go on, but you're not built that way. You seem to want to let people know that you have an idea.
Well, it's I kind of have to watch myself. Of course, Matthew Height, he always questions some of my questions that I ask.
Rudy, obviously.
Rudy, he likes to give me a hard time, but that's good. And I don't mind asking a question if, I want the speaker to know we appreciate them coming and that, yes, we're interested in what they have to say. But, yeah, I don't know. I think that's the way I'm built. I remember asking questions in school, like, if you hadn't asked that question, we'd gotten that a lot sooner. So,
well, one time I'm tickled to death that you ask it, because it's something that I may be, or somebody else in the room may be thinking, I wish I'd asked that question, but I just don't really know how to phrase it, and then you just blend it right out there, and it's great because you find that's the only way you get answers.
Well, yeah, hopefully it stimulates a little thinking in the conversations.
Exactly, keep some of these political people we come through a little honest sometimes.
They
have to give you an answer. Well, on top of all that, like I said, we could go back and name one thing after another you're involved with. One of the biggest things I know you're involved with right now is the head of the trustees with the St. Catherine College, which I know is keeping you very busy.
I'm a trustee. I'm not the head of it. I'm not the chair of the board, John Turner. But yes, I've been on that board for almost 3 years now, and I was a graduate of St. Catherine's 50 years ago this year, and last year it was. So coming up on the 51st year, my wife is also a graduate of there. So. A lot of people look at St. Catherine's in different ways. It's a religious school. It's a Catholic school, Dominican school. Over half the students there are not Catholic, though. So I look at it from an economic standpoint. It is an economic engine for this area. Flowers Food just down the road. A lot of these companies that come in here and want this site as their manufacturing site, you got to bring a lot of employees who are very happy in their current place that they're living, and where am I? I'm going off this little town in Kentucky. Well, this little town in Kentucky has a lot to offer, and education is one of the things. So it can be an impact on what a company makes a decision. Well, our employees will enjoy living in this small town that's been so well recognized as a beautiful place to live. Well, does it offer certain things such as cultural? So cultural impact. Can my kids go to school there, get a good education? So I think St. Catherine's is an integral part of that. It is vital to this area. I had to pay my way through high school. I went to St. Joe, so one of 8 kids, so we were expected to pay. So when I got to college, it was the same thing. Yeah. So to be able to afford all 4 years of college away from home might have been a little bit steep since I was paying for it. It might have taken longer. I was able to go to St. Catherine's and pay my way and then go on to university.
Well, I had 2 sons, both went there, and both of them went a great education, and ideal. I liked it for the small size of the college and close to home for one thing, but it's exploded over the last few years. I mean, if somebody hadn't been to St. Springfield in the last few years, beautiful buildings. Some of these buildings are beautiful, and I mean, and I know they've changed a lot of changes, but some of the things have stayed the same.
Oh yes, yeah, and but it's it's a great institution to help out those people who would like to go on and continue their education. I remember my experience when I was at St. Catherine's, and I haven't seen the guy. I can't remember. I believe his last name was Donahue, and he was from the Loretta area. And he was always my hero in school because he had 8 kids. He worked second shift at GE, and he was there every morning at 8 o'clock. So I don't know what time he got home in the middle of the night from GE, but he wanted to better himself. Yeah. And he drove from Loretta to St. Catherine's, and then finished up there, got to Louisville for his second shift job, and got back home, did his homework. And I always admired that man because having 8 kids, and I saw him a few years later. After he finished at St. Catherine's, he went on to University of Louisville. He moved to Louisville and went to university and finished up and bettered himself. So he was very grateful, but I just thought, man, with 8 kids and going to school.
There is a lot of, and I know Matthew, my son, was talking about it one time he said there was a couple of older people, he said. Of course, back then that could have meant a lot of things. But yes, he said what made the class interesting sometime because they would come up with some ideas that some of the younger students wouldn't think of.
They haven't been down that road. Right. So it was, but it gave him the opportunity. It's given a lot of people the opportunity to do that, and we're looking to see what other things we can add from a cultural standpoint to the curriculum to help the retarees.
Well, like I said, you've been a very instrumental part of this community, very energetic part of this community. What's next? I mean, I know you don't have retirement. I know that's not even in your vocabulary.
That might be. You never know. It's
golf ball's still waiting out there.
That's right. There's a worm that hasn't been burned.
Exactly.
Yet. I don't know, but I do want to spend more time away from work because before I came back to Bardstown, I was here growing up, and then I was in the military. In college, and then I worked for Johnson & Johnson in the pharmaceutical business. So I was away for about 20 years, and so I did that, and then my wife is not from here. She's from New York. We came back in the early 80s, and she said, this would really be a great place to raise the kids. Yeah. And so that's when we started in the motion to move back here. But I'm ready to explore some other things and not spend as much time at work. 6 days a week, 60 hours a week, and
I know you like to travel. You've been all over the world.
We've made a few trips, yes. I haven't. My wife is going to the Far East this fall. My sister wants somebody to go with her. I'm not going on that trip. I wouldn't mind going to China. That'd be a good trip, though. And so, I think I would like to. I've got everything kind of running well. I have 5 very excellent employees, and I told them yesterday in a meeting that it's now I want to make them the best. I said, you don't go out and get the worst haircut, and you don't go out and get the worst food. You want the best. I said, I want you to be the best here. And so that's sort of the mantra that we have there is that whatever you do, be the best at it. And so I'm bringing those people along, and I told him, I said, now I'd just like to spend a little less time here, and you all can take over. And
before we get done, I see obviously your family's been here for a long time. I know your dad had a dairy business there for years.
Well, my grandfather, they moved here in the 1919, I think it was, from Glendale, Kentucky. My uncle, I remember my uncle telling the story when they drove the cattle. My dad was the oldest of 11, and my Uncle Harry was one of the younger ones, and he remembered looking out the back seat standing up in the back seat looking out and watching all of his older brothers drive the cattle from Glendale up 62. I don't know which way they went around the courthouse. I said they took the shortcut, but anyway. Then they came up 30.
Tourists, they go around.
Yeah, that's right. They go around the wrong way anyway. So they headed up and then had a farm out just north of town where Tower Automotive is, Bird and Son. That was my grandfather's farm. And it went north all the way to about Fairgrounds or to Nazareth Road, Old Nazareth Road, and went east quite a ways. I don't know if it made it to Bloomfield Road or not. So that was the beginnings of the Hagan clan from the Glendale area, and then my father was here. He had several businesses, and he spent some time in Chicago, and then came back here in the late 30s. And
well, you got quite a legacy to live up to, and like I said, I think you're doing a good job, and you got something to leave for your kids to do. Are they follow in your footsteps, or what?
None of the kids live here. My son lives now is in Cleveland.
None of us did at one time.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, when he retires, I don't know. He may come back. My daughter's in Lexington. She was at the University of Kentucky. My son-in-law is there at the University of Kentucky in the medical field. So, but yeah, they enjoy coming to Bardstown.
I wish your son, grandson, a happy 16th today.
Yes.
And tell him to come back to Bardstown. We need more Hagans.
Oh, okay. He's a Bennett, so we're going to have to work on that.
There you go. We'll have to work on that. Well, Jim, we do appreciate you.
Oh, I enjoyed it.
I know you're busy. We'll get you out of here, but we'll come back in and tell a few more stories sometime and tell us what else is going on in your work.
All right, sounds great.
All right, thanks a lot. Jim Hagan with State Farm Insurance, but also involved in many other things here in the Bardstown, Nelson County, and Central Kentucky area. So we appreciate what he's doing, and again, appreciate you tuning in. Stick around, a lot more to come here on Community Focus right here on Channel 6 TV. We'll be right back.